What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and in this video I'm going to go over my favorite items from the Going Gear EDC Club subscription for 2022. In this video I'm going to do both the standard and the premium, although I have separate lists for them. I'm going to do both in one video, mainly because I really want to wrap up my 2022 recap content and get into new content for 2023. So by putting them in one video, it just kind of moves that along a little bit faster. So I also, in the kind of nature of saving time, kept this a little bit limited to top 5 for standard and top 5 for premium. I could have gone a lot bigger for standard just because you get so many items in the standard subscription. You might get 3 to 5 items each month, and so could have went a lot longer, but in the interest of saving time, just kind of limited myself there. So I'm going to start with the standard, and at number 5 is a item from the December box, so very recent, the QB Thalia. And the reason I went with this one was just really unique look to it. Liked that it was a QB knife that really wasn't on my radar, has a couple different deployment methods, and is just kind of a fun knife to play with. This is one that I probably wouldn't have picked up or even known about had it not been for the subscription, so discovered it through there. And it's just a cool overall knife, good size, and was excited to receive it. It might be a little bit of a recency bias, but I tried to take that into account. And in fact, I think this is the only item really from December or even November on either of the subscriptions, so did try and avoid that on my list. So at number 4 was the September Raylight Pineapple Mini, and there was a lot of different flashlights to choose from. I was kind of on the fence between this and the Rovivon E1. I went with this one, honestly, because I like the looks of it so much better. It's just a really good looking flashlight. Doesn't have quite as many features as the Rovivon E1, and also don't love that there's no real option for recharging the battery. I believe it takes a 10440, but they don't send any way to charge it. You'd have to kind of figure that on your own. Not the biggest deal if you already have those, but for someone who doesn't, that kind of could be a deal breaker. But like the looks of this a lot, and is a little bit different. The Rovivon probably would have made it had I not already had the E3, which has all of the same features and same form factor. And so that kind of knocked it down a point or two for me, where this one ended up in that 4th slot. Number 3 is an August standard item. This was the Kaiser Assassin. If you've watched my video on this, you'll know it's one of my favorite button locks, probably my second favorite button lock in my collection of 6 or 7 or so now. And really like the look of the blade. It's not my favorite looking knife handle-wise, but the action on it's excellent. The button lock performance is really good. And like I said, one of my favorite button locks. And so to get this in the standard subscription was super exciting and still heavily in my rotation. Obviously, most of these knives are going to be, but every once in a while a knife will just kind of fall to the bottom of a drawer somewhere and fall out of the rotation, and this is definitely one that's kind of stayed fresh and stayed in my rotation for quite a while, so why I included it at number 3. At number 2, we have a May item, the Ace Beam Rider X. Now this flashlight's good looking. I really like that blue core, and has a unique kind of feature that doesn't do a whole lot, but still exciting in its bolt action pocket clip. And so what that does for you, allows you to stand it on the tail stand where usually the button would be in the way, and also allows you to access that battery, which you need to remove to charge it. It is USB-C rechargeable, but you do have to remove it from the flashlight, which isn't my favorite. Overall, the bolt action isn't adding a ton to the flashlight outside of the fidget factor and again access to that battery compartment, but still like that they did something different. Really like the pocket clip as well. They have a 2-way pocket clip, which I always enjoy on a flashlight, so super excited about that one and think it's really good looking flashlight as well. Now my favorite item by far from Going Gear standard subscription for 2022 came in the February box, so pretty early on, and that's the Kaiser Beglighter 2. This was a Going Gear exclusive version than that black micarta, and I think it looks really good. It's really excellent action, and just one of the knives that I carry a decent amount, and so by far my favorite. I'm not sure what it is exactly about it, but it's heavily in my EDC rotation. I carry it quite a bit, and just every time I handle it, I'm happy to have it in my hand, so made it pretty easy to put that in the number 1 slot. A lot of these other slots, it could have been mixed. I definitely could have swapped the flashlight or the Ace Beam and the Assassin, and the Ray Light and the Thalia. And the fifth slot, I probably could have swapped in 6 or 7 different items. So really just kind of went with my gut there. But for the number 1 slot, this was the only item in consideration for me. So that's everything from my top 5 standard. Let me know if you agree, disagree, if there's something that you would take out and put in something else down in the comments below. But let's move on to the premium items. And this one, again, the 5 slot and even the 4 slot were very difficult for me because there were so many items I could put in there. And mostly knives. I went with the tagged out at number 5, and this came in the October box. And this is a little bit bigger than I'd typically EDC, but with those super thin scales and lightweight scales, I carry this a decent amount. It goes in basketball shorts, jeans, anything. And it's really meant, I think, as a hunting knife and part of their hunt series, but it has been a nice little EDC for me. And the reason I kind of chose 5 and 4 because there were so many knives, the Concept, Custom Warrior, there was the Bestech recently, which was the Elijah Ishewitz design. And so there was a lot of knives that I just really liked, but I went with the ones that I ended up carrying the most, which is, I guess, what matters in this kind of scenario. So that's number 5. Number 4 is another knife, the Giant Mouse Ace Corda. And I put this at 4 instead of 5, mainly because this is a knife that I wouldn't have picked up. I don't like the look of it so much, but I love the knife now that I have it in my hands. And so got extra points because it came in a subscription where I wouldn't have bought it before. The tagged out was already on my radar. I probably would have picked it up the first good sale I saw on it, whereas this one I wasn't really even thinking about. And so it was kind of a nice find through the subscription, which I gave a little bit of bonus points to, a little bit more weight to. And so that rounds out the knives. Now we got the top 3 items, which I was surprised were not knives. And so at number 3 in the premium, I went with the Tactile Turn Titanium Bolt Action Pen. This came in the April box, and this was the first pen that was valued, I guess, over $100. I didn't necessarily pay $100 for it since it came in the subscription, but first pen at that price point for me, and really enjoyed it and have carried it quite a bit. And I did buy another Tactile Turn pen eventually, so I have 2 pens in this kind of price range, but still to this day I think this is a little bit higher than I'd like to pay for an EDC pen. Most of the pens that I carry that are EDC related pens are $30 to $40 range, where these are 100 plus. And so I think this was 100, the other one I have maybe might have been 119, but still kind of stings a little bit to buy a pen for that price point, and so I really don't do that much, but really glad I got it. And it's a classy looking pen. It's the pen that when I started my new business got a first check. This is a pen I endorsed it with, and so kind of a special occasions pen, but still feels just a little bit pricey for me when I'm shopping for pens, but really glad it was included in the subscription. Really got me into these types of pens a little bit more than I was. I had some EDC pens, but for the most part, you know, they don't function that much different than a regular pen. You can get a $1 pen that does the exact same thing, and so I still do buy those type of pens, but for EDC pens, you know, it's definitely one of the nicest ones in my collection. At number 2 was a big surprise to me. This is the Musin, I believe it's pronounced, Bluetooth speaker from the August subscription, and really surprising to me because I wasn't super thrilled. I think this is the Wild Mini portable Bluetooth speaker. Wasn't super thrilled about receiving this. I was okay, you know, I can always use a Bluetooth speaker. There's nothing wrong with it. I just thought the price point and you're really paying for the design, and it was a little bit gimmicky, but I actually love this Bluetooth speaker. Don't use the flashlight portion really at all, but I use the speaker quite a bit. It's pretty compact. You can take it with you very easily. It's got decent volume, decent battery life, and I've used it a ton more than I thought. And so this really grew on me for something that wasn't that excited about at the time, and ended up being my number 2 favorite item from the premium subscription. And again, at number 1 is an item that really didn't have a lot of competition. It was the first item that I thought of when it came to the premium subscription, and that is the AceBeam E70 from June. This is a really large flashlight, pretty hefty. Got this nice stonewashed titanium, that same blue core that we saw on the Rider. So that's similar, but just think this looks really, really good. It's heavy duty. It's got the kind of self-defense bezel on there. And again, the only downfall for this one for me is that you do have to remove the battery to recharge it, but it is a rechargeable battery, USB-C rechargeable. But overall, I think looks really good. Has a ton of slots for tritium if you want to add your own tritium, and really just fills out the hand, which is kind of a great thing for, again, walking the dog is the same thing. I use all these kind of size flashlights. It's not getting crazy use. It doesn't need to be super bright, although this one is pretty bright. It doesn't need to be. It's just for kind of walking my dog at night, making sure no coyotes are going to get her, and we can see around the corners and that sort of thing. But really love the look of this a lot. It's just a classy looking flashlight and feels super hefty and heavy duty. So it was an easy choice for number one. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that the premium subscription started in December of 2021. So there was one box in 2021 that I didn't include as eligible for this subscription. Although if I did, it probably would have knocked out one of these two knives. And that was the Benchmade Mini Adamas that came in the December 2021 unboxing. And I probably would have included that. That knife lives on my nightstand next to a flashlight and just kind of a valet tray. And I also carried a decent bit, was super surprised about that one as well because it's such a big knife, which isn't usually my thing, but really love that knife. And had it been eligible, probably would have knocked one of these items off the table. But again, let me know what you think of the premium items that I went with. Obviously, there was a little bit less to choose from premium because usually you only get one premium item, although there were a couple exceptions. Usually there's only one item. So this list it makes sense to only be 5, whereas the standard, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of variance in what people would include in their top 5 just because you get so many items. But thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button, and as always, I hope you have a great one. Take care.